Hi, everybody. My name is Andrew Perlin, and I want to welcome you to the very first episode of my new podcast called Insurance Explained. Listen, have you ever asked yourself, am I covered? If you ever had that question, this is the podcast for you. Okay. Most people do not wake up worrying about their insurance. They just don't. And honestly, I get it. It's not exactly an exciting thing to talk about. You don't talk about it at dinner. You don't talk about it with your friends usually. And you figure, hey, if I'm paying my bill every week or every month, I must be okay, right? And everything will be fine until it's not fine. I've been in the insurance business a long time, and I can tell you with confidence that coverage gaps aren't created by bad decisions. I guess sometimes they are. Sometimes you can say, hey, I don't want this particular coverage, and then something bad happens. But typically, it's not bad decisions. They're created by assumptions. People just assume that their homeowners insurance is going to cover everything they own. They assume that their auto policies protect them no matter what kind of accidents they get into. They assume they have enough life insurance. They assume that their long-term care insurance is going to be fine no matter what. And most of the time, nothing happens. Like most of the time, we get through our day and we're good until it happens. And then once it happens, then what? I wanted to start this podcast to explain to people why it's important to feel protected and why it's important to be protected and why so many people assume they're protected and then have these questions as to what happened, why is this check not big enough, or why am I being declined at all? Because they just don't understand what's going on. Here's the truth about insurance. There's not a one size fits all policy. You just can't buy one and it covers everything. It's just not how it's designed. And every policy that you do own, I'm here to tell you, is not designed to cover absolutely everything. Your homeowner's insurance policy, I'm telling you right now, does not cover everything that happens to your home. It's only under certain circumstances that it does. So the thing is, your policy is designed to protect against certain risks under specific conditions. We're talking about an insurance policy here, up to a certain limit that you get to choose. And that's it. So if you don't know what the risks are and you don't know what the conditions are and you don't know what your limits are, there's no way to protect your assets. There's just no way to do it. That's why this is so important. And that's why so many people have a negative connotation when it comes to their insurance, because no one's ever sat down and taken the time to explain this to them. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Years and years ago, I was working with a client, good client. I was doing his homeowner's insurance for him, and he was a client of mine for years. He was getting his kitchen renovated, and he was dropping a lot of money to renovate this kitchen, custom all the way around. And I'm sure it looked great. The problem is he didn't tell me that he was doing it, and he didn't let his insurance company know that he was doing it. And it's not like his insurance company was a sub-rated company. They were a marquee company, and he never told him. So no problem. Like, you don't have to tell your insurance company that you put an addition on your house, but it would be nice to know because the insurance company would like to cover it. Unfortunately, about a year or so after the kitchen was renovated, there was a loss. Now, his insurance company did what his insurance company was going to do. It paid the claim, but it only paid it to the limit. Unfortunately, the limit was lower than it needed to be because he just put this custom kitchen in there. Of course, he was upset. And when I got him on the phone, I'm like, you never told me that you changed your house. Like, you never told me about it. So it's not like the coverage failed him. It just didn't match anymore. Right. So here's the thing. If he would have said, hey, Andrew, I just dropped $50,000 or $60,000 on my kitchen. I need to get my replacement cost recalculated. Or if he would have told me that, I would have told him you need to get your replacement cost recalculated. And I would have done that for him. Okay. Yeah. His premium would have went up $100 or so a year. But in the grand scheme of things, $100 or so a year is nothing to protect a $50,000 or $60,000 investment on your kitchen. So again, the insurance company did its job, right? It paid the claim. It just paid it to the limit. And in his case, the limit wasn't enough. So he was forced to come out of pocket to pay the difference. That's the thing that I'm trying to talk about. Life changes all the time, but your coverage will not change unless you change it. The thing you have to remember about a policy, whether it's a life insurance policy or a home or auto policy, is it's a contract. And it's not going to change just because, like any other contract that you may have signed. It's just not going to change unless you change it. In that situation, it would have been good for him to let me know because we would have changed his contract and he would have gotten his money back. That's really why this podcast exists. Insurance Explained is not about selling you a policy. That is not my job here. There's a lot of really good insurance agents and insurance brokers out there, and I really hope that you're working with one of them. And if you are working with one of them, then these are the people that you should be talking to about how your coverage actually works and where the gaps are. And those are the kind of questions that you should be asking them. And if you have a good agent, they're going to be like, Great, let's have that conversation. We should have that conversation. If they were an exceptional agent, you would have had that conversation with them when you bound your policy way back when. But life changes. So it's important to have these conversations all the time. Unfortunately, in my line of work, there's a lot of people that aren't very good at their job and they're just trying to sell you something. And they're just like, yeah, cheap, no problem. And the next thing you have to come out of pocket because your insurance wasn't enough to cover whatever loss that you may have. So that's what we're going to talk about over the next, hopefully, a gazillion different episodes. Future episodes are going to include topics like why your auto limits are more important than your deductible. What does homeowners really cover and what doesn't it cover? Why is umbrella insurance one of the most misunderstood policies out there? And should you have it? I think you should. I can give you a couple of good reasons as to why it's important to have that conversation. What's the difference between all these different types of life insurance policies that are out there? Should I own one versus the other? How much life insurance should I have? Do I need life insurance at all? How about long-term care insurance? Do I need that? How about disability insurance? When should I switch over from disability to long-term care? Things of that nature. The bottom line is this. You need to look at your insurance, whether it's home and auto, whether it's commercial, whether it's life insurance, disability insurance, long-term care. The bottom line is this whole concept is designed to protect your assets, to move liability from your personal balance sheet to the insurance company's balance sheet. So if something goes wrong, you do not have to write a really big check. That's the name of the game. And that's what we want to talk about. So my goal is simple. I just want you to understand your coverage well enough that you can make decisions from a position of strength. Because when something happens, it's too late. Your policy's set. That's it. So you need to make these decisions before these things happen. And that's what this is all about. If this was helpful, then hey, make sure you follow the show and don't miss any future episodes. My goal is to probably post one or so a week, maybe about 10, 15 minutes, depending upon what the topic is. And if you feel like someone should look at this information and would benefit from it, please, by all means, share it to them. If you're listening to this and thinking, gee, I'm really not sure if I'm covered the way I think I should be covered, that's good. That's a good instinct. You should have that conversation with yourself. Involve your spouse if you have one. Involve the people that you love to have these conversations because it's important. It's important because, like I said, when things happen, your policy is set in stone and it's not going to change. At no point in time in my years of being in the insurance business has the insurance company looked at a loss and said, well, we can do better here. And they call the insured and say, hey, you know what? I noticed that your policy only is going to pay X. It's not enough. We'll give you X plus. That has never happened, ever. But what does happen all the time, unfortunately, is the insured looks at it and says, wow, man, I really wish this was more. Right. And unfortunately, once that issue happens, it's too late. So if you have that, am I insured? Am I not insured? Should I have this conversation? That's a good thing. That's what this podcast is all about. And I don't want you to panic. You don't have to change everything at once. You don't have to change anything at all. You could be in perfect spot, but you just want that clarity. You just want to have that peace of mind knowing that things are covered. And if you'd like a no pressure review of your coverage, if you're working with somebody who's not willing to have that conversation with you, then get a hold of me, DM me or whatever, like the link at the bottom and get a hold of me. I will give you a no sales pitch, no obligation presentation. I will go over what you have and I'll make sure that you understand it. And then you can go back to your insurance agent and get it fixed or go find another insurance agent if I'm not licensed to sell in that state. But this is all about trying to help people protect their assets. Okay. That's it. That's all I got for today. I really appreciate you taking the time to be a part of our very first podcast of Insurance Explained by Andrew Perlin. Again, please follow the podcast. It's the only way it's going to grow. I'm excited to do it. I've been doing this a really long time. I'm a broker for many years, representing many different insurance companies. And I've got a lot of information to dispense to you guys. And hey, listen, if I can help anybody make a good decision and most importantly, not have to write a really big check, then it was worth it to me. So again, thank you very much for listening and being a part of our very first episode of our very first podcast of Insurance Explained by Andrew Perlin. Have a great day, everybody, and I will talk to you soon.